This is MMOBuff, and very shortly you are about to be taking a look at the Convergence.
Yes.
Pseudo, you have so much stuff in your hands.
I have plenty of stuff in my hands. In fact, I've got roused hours, I've got chart, I've even got t-shirts, and we even have games to give away. Basically, sit back, enjoy the show, but who wants some stuff?
And this stuff is heavy, so...
Anyone?
There we go. We can't be doing this. I'm going to send some that way as well.
I'm going to send some that way. Woo, catch that
There's
one.
a whole box of it there.
We do have a massive box. T-shirts? T-shirts?
Am I allowed to
Roused hours.
throw hard,
that way.
pointy stuff?
Ooh, good catch.
I can't throw hard, pointy stuff, but I can hand it out.
There you go.
I can hand out to you in the T-shirt. There's going to be more. Should we throw out one more thing?
One more thing.
Then we're going to hand over to the really shiny people on the sofa, and then the rest of that box still needs to go.
Yes.
So, well, one more thing to throw out. It's a T-shirt. It's going to the back. Well, nearly the back.
Nice. Ooh, careful.
No knocking anyone over there in the crowd. Okay, it's time to say hello to Screenager and the awesome people from ArenaNet. Screenager, take it away.
And enjoy the Convergence, everyone.
Welcome everyone to Convergence. I'm Screenager, and we've got three wonderful developers from ArenaNet here on the sofa. If any of you are new to Guild Wars 2, what we'll do is we will go from my left to right, and we'll ask you guys to introduce yourself.
Okay, my name's Josh Davis. I'm the competitive events manager at ArenaNet.
And I'm Steve Fowler. I'm the head of marketing for ArenaNet.
I'm Liz Kirstein, and I'm the associate global brand manager for ArenaNet.
And thank you all three of you for coming out today. Normally in Convergence, what we do is we start our show by asking our show hosts, which introduce the show, what they've been doing in Guild Wars 2 this week. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on our guest today and ask, Josh, what have you been doing in Guild Wars 2 this week?
What have I been doing on the dev side or on the player side?
Well, that's entirely up to you. What you want to talk about?
I've been at EGX all week.
You've not even been on the booth.
What's that?
You've not been on the booth.
Yeah, I've been on the booth the whole time.
You
doing live streams.
The new player experience.
Yeah, tried it out a little bit. Yeah.
See, you've been on Guild Wars 2 this week. Steve, what have you been doing in Guild Wars 2 this week?
Lots of World v World. Right now we're in the fall tournament, so if those of you that know a little bit about our game know that we have a Adopt a Dev program going on. So I've been adopted by a development or a guild in EU servers on Kodash. So I've been wreaking havoc with those guys.
How have they been treating you?
They've been very, very professional.
They've been professional. Kodas, you are professional. Liz, what have you been doing in Guild Wars 2 this week?
Lots of World versus World for me as well. I'm really excited about the tournament going on, and I've been getting in there and getting my participation every week.
Fantastic. I'd love to say that I was doing something different, but honestly, I am World v World dedicated, so I've been stomping for Pike and Square all week, and then coming down here to experience Eurogamer Expo. Some of you may know that over the last few weeks here at Convergence, we've been asking for player questions for the developers that we now have here on the couch. So while they're cornered and they can't get away, we're going to ask a few questions to the team, and we're going to let them decide who wants to answer that, fight it out amongst themselves, and we'll take away here. First of all, we have a question from one of the fans asking, what has been your proudest moment to date to do with something you've implemented in the game or been involved in as part of a ArenaNet employee in Guild Wars 2? I think we'll start with Liz this time.
Wow.
We'll just turn that one around.
Yes, not that. So I'm not a dev per se. I don't actually put things into the game, but everyone at ArenaNet is involved with internal testing. So we do all calls, we do play sessions, and kind of figure out what's going into the game and play through it. And I think what I loved most being involved in was the testing going into the Evolved Jungle Worm before that went out for Origins of Madness. We did a lot of play sessions with that, and it was really fun to watch it evolve over time, and then to see it go live and see the player reaction to it was amazing.
You like to watch the Evolved Jungle Worm evolve?
Yes.
What about yourself, Steve? What's your proudest moment from your time at ArenaNet?
Yeah, I'm also not a developer, so I can say my proudest moment as an employee at ArenaNet, I think similar to Liz, I really like the end game bosses. So when the revamp of Tequatl went in, I thought that was super amazing, and it was really cool to watch the servers to be who was going to get the world first on it and how long it would take them to get the world first. I think that's one of our coolest fights, and was really interested and excited to see people try to get them down.
Yeah, that was super hard. That was a real step up when that came in terms of difficulty. It was quite a race to see people putting it all out there just to get that down first.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Josh?
So I might be on the same team with these guys, but I have the benefit of actually being embedded with the dev team.
Yeah.
So I actually I sit with the competitive teams, so that's World v. World, Skills and Balance, and the PvP teams. And I partake in most of the design meetings, and I kind of start with the initial plans and all the way through to execution. So I'm actually not pushing the buttons myself, but being able to attend the design meetings, kind of giving feedback and helping push the direction of balance and PvP and features in general. I can't pick a specific moment, rather, but I think just overall in general, just that. And of course, the World Tournament Series. Obviously I couldn't do without these guys here, but it's kind of my baby that I'm trying to push forward, and really excited about that as well.
Groucho's, he's proud of stomping noobs in PvP, pretty much.
That as well, yes.
Not so much in World v. World.
Yeah, you did see that earlier.
Yeah, if you've not seen that, I'm sure that will be available for you to rewatch. Not Josh's proudest moment, I might say. We'll move on to a slightly different question that was submitted to us. One of our viewers asked, will we ever have a public test server before an update? And if so, how can they participate in testing those servers to give everyone a better experience? Would any of you like to take that, or?
Well, we can't announce any new test servers at this show, but what I can tell you is we take player feedback very seriously.
Yeah.
Our forums are a great place to deliver that feedback. In particular, some of you may be aware of a project we have called the CDI.
Indeed.
And that is a collaborative development initiative. It's run by our design director, Chris Whiteside. And we've been doing that for 4, 5, 6 months. Different topics, different kind of subgroups that want to have their voices heard. This is an opportunity for them, whether you're into dungeons or into fractals. Right now it's about guilds. I think the current thread is about guild halls, in fact, which, is not in Guild Wars 2, but obviously is something that the community is interested in, and development team wants to talk about it with them.
Yeah, and indeed, with all the communication that there's been on the forums at the moment, I believe it was Chris, that opened a forum thread on siege trolling within World v. World. Is there anything that's coming of that at the moment, or anything that they're deciding on moving forward at this stage with the siege trolling measures?
So I would say it's pretty early. I mean, the conversation started up, I think it was last week or so.
Yeah.
Development is very iterative, so we're going to take a lot of the ideas that came out of that thread and then discuss them as a team and kind of figure out what the best route for us to go with that. And, we can't give a specific date, but it's definitely a conversation we're having internally now.
Mm-hmm. It is something that definitely impacts the game, especially with the World v. World tournaments. I think some servers getting much more serious about the way that they want to try and approach World v. World. And in terms of that, with the World v. World Fall Tournament going on right now, what do you feel has been the general player reaction to that?
I'd say mostly positive. So the World v. World Tournament's awesome, right? Because you get a ton of people in, it feels very competitive. We introduced a couple new things this tournament as well. We have Siege Disabler, and I think that's changed the way that World v. World is played quite a bit as well. So you just can't throw your rams down on a door. You've actually got to think about it now, because someone can come in and disable everything that you have on that door, all your siege equipment, for 45 seconds. So it's changed the way the game's played, and I think people are still adjusting to it. Anytime there's a new change that goes into a game, it's going to take a little while for people to adjust to it and kind of learn the strategy and how to evolve with that change. But I think now that we're a little bit further in the tournament, I think people are starting to like it.
Yeah, it certainly has changed the way that the game's played, and we had an interview with Devin Carver at Gamescom, and he was talking about how the team have a very iterative approach. They don't want to change too much too fast, because small changes can have a huge effect on World v. World. And in terms of World v. World changes, do the team have any plans on making any changes to rewards for defending in World v. World? It's weighted very much towards attacking at the moment, and there's been some question about whether the rewards for defending in World v. World will be changed up.
So I wouldn't be the person to comment on that, but what I can say is that we have been doing the adoptive program in World vs. World, right? So we have a lot of our developers embedded with guilds that have offered up to take us in. And we just had a recent meeting, actually, I believe Steve was at, where a lot of these things were brought up. And now that we've gone through, collected a lot of feedback from the players as well from the developers, we're going to take that back and say, okay, these are the things that we think we can address and what we should do about, and start developing a plan about how we can actually address these issues that have been brought up.
That's great, thank you very much. We're going to move on to some slightly different topics, something a little more personal for you. One of our viewers has asked, what's been your favourite updates to work on and why, of all the update drops that Guild Wars has had?
Yeah, I can start. I really liked Clockwork Chaos last summer, I think it was. And what we did kind of leading up to that to spark debate, facilitate discussion, we kind of spoofed that release prior to it coming out, if you remember. We said that there was going to be a big speech by Queen Jenna, and our webpage went up, and over time Scarlett started defacing that page until it finally resolved on the day of release that it was actually Clockwork Chaos, and was one of our most successful releases. I think people really fondly remember that release with all of the clockwork horrors that were randomly spawning in all over different places around the world. I think that was one of my favorites.
Certainly. I mean, when we saw the webpage go up for that, we all did think, you know, here's another update, we're not going to get any living story moving forward, and then all of a sudden it reached out beyond the game. That was really inventive.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Liz? What's your favourite update to have worked on?
Steve named one of my favorites, but I really love working on preparation for the feature packs. Our first one in April was particularly just really fun to work with devs to figure out, okay, what all are we adding and how are we going to tell all this information to players? I work really closely with the web team to get our blogs out. And it was really fun to figure out, ordering and pacing and, what needs a video, what is just text, and figuring all that out was super, super rewarding.
It's not just a case of being fun as well. With feature packs, it's hugely important for players
a lot of
to understand the changes that are coming in.
Yep.
What about yourself, Josh? What's been your favourite update to work on?
So mine's Feature Pack 1 as well. With the competitive team, all of our features are bundled into the feature packs. And a big thing that we had for Guild Wars from launch is that PvP was kind of like its own segregated area of the game. Like everything you did there was kind of just in that area, and if you left, you'd be awesome in PvP. You'd be this guy in cool armor. You'd walk out the door and go into PvE land, and you would look like a peasant. You'd have like a potato sack on, and it wasn't cool. But with the feature pack, we kind of tore down those walls. And now you earn rewards in PvE that actually go into PvP, and vice versa. So now you look like an awesome dude in PvP, and you go out into PvE, and you're still awesome, and you have everything that you had in PvP.
Indeed. We've also had a question from one of our viewers asking if there was one feature that Guild Wars 2 has today that you could have gone back in time and put in at launch, what would it be and why? On the spot here.
I'd go with mega servers. I think mega servers has really changed the way that players are able to socialize and always have seemingly the right amount of players around them to help. As most of you know, Guild Wars 2 is a very cooperative game, at least in the open world, right? Not so much in PvP or in World v World. But in the open world, it's always great to have people around, whether it's trying to bring down a boss or just needing help from being in a down state. And so mega servers I think enhance some of the collaboration that you have and the camaraderie that you have when you play the game.
What about yourself, Josh? I'm going to go with you. If there was any single feature that you have right now that you could go back in time and you could put into the game, what would you have?
So I'm pretty PvP focused. That's why I work at ArenaNet. And I'd probably have to say custom arenas. That's the feature that we needed to start running these community tournaments and actually hosting tournaments ourselves. And so having that at the start would have been really helpful.
Indeed. Finally, Les, what about yourself?
I'm kind of torn between the wardrobe, which I personally love, because I'm really big on the aesthetics of our game and mixing and matching armor pieces and all of that. But also, I'm a really big fan of our guild missions. I've been running them pretty regularly with my own guilds, and it's a lot of really fun content that I wish we'd had in earlier.
Yeah, I'm torn myself between a number of the features. If I had to answer that question, I've got to say, for all my weight and my focus on World v World, I've got to say I'm particularly fond of the wardrobes. I've been able to bring out my mini pets and run around with mini pets on. Got to say I'm quite taken by that part of the update, and I would probably have that to start, just all about the aesthetics.
Yep.
When we're talking about playing Guild Wars 2, we're going to ask Liz, what's your main class and what's your favourite race within the game?
Main is a really tricky thing for me. I think the most...
It has like 14 mains.
She's an alcoholic?
It's a real disease. But I think the most percentage of time any of my characters have is like a quarter of my total account playtime is on an Elementalist because I rolled her first and got world completion on her.
Yeah.
So if I had to pick a main, I guess it would be Ellie or Guardian. But there are very few classes that I don't play a lot of. But Sylvari, by far, I have more Sylvari than anything else. I've got like 10 lads. It's a lot.
Got to agree. My first character was a Sylvari. My commander tag went on a Sylvari, and that's pretty much been my main the whole way through. I think I'm Sylvari to the core. What about yourself, Steve?
My main is Mesmer. I play a PU Mesmer, so really like to grief people in World v World and just give them a hard time. I know most people really despise PU Mesmers, but that's actually the reason I like to play them.
Oh, that's lovely. Thanks for that loving cheering.
Yeah, sure. As the guy who just said in the last question that we have a very cooperative team, cooperative player base, doesn't really fit for me. So, and then I'm just boring to play human. Although I play a female human because I enjoy the female form, and if I'm not to look at the screen for hours and hours, I might as well be looking at that.
But the scenery is lovely. Why would you be looking at your character?
The scenery's good too. Daniel Dochu's a great artist, and I appreciate what he's done, but it's not animated. It doesn't walk the same way. Like trees, they don't move.
You're just easily distracted by the shiny. What about yourself, Josh?
I'm an engineer, but I have hundreds of games. Mostly PvP, right? So I have hundreds of games on other professions. I've got 480s. Mostly engineer though, elementalist, warrior, and thief.
That's fine. My main's an engineer as well, so you know we outnumber the rest of them here. It's fine. Doesn't often happen in Guild Wars, so it's absolutely fine. We've got a couple of other random questions before we wrap up with you all, and you get to escape. First of all, I'm probably going to pick on Josh here particularly. We had a question in asking if Josh particularly thinks that the Gamescom PvP tournament, if that had any impact on the way that PvP is perceived, and if so, what impact did that have on PvP within Guild Wars?
So I think Gamescom in general was successful, right? Anytime that we get the game out there and people see how awesome it is, it's a great experience for us. I had a really great time interfacing a lot of the fans too. Like we had so many people come out there for the tournament. Like the booth that we had there was just completely packed with people. And I think just kind of being around the same like-minded people, talking about PvP, getting feedback on PvP, and actually even finding some things that we're going to be actioning in the future based off their feedback was really one of the high points for me.
That's fantastic. Rather than keep you way too long, and we will let you go, but there's one more question we're going to ask. And one of our viewers asked, I'm going to have to read this out particularly because it's quite a long question. There's been a distinct increase recently in red posts on the forum. Like you've said, there's been CDI that Chris has opened. He's been talking about siege trolling as well and a number of things. CDI is an interaction with the devs. With this and recent additions to the team, does this mark a proactive approach from ArenaNet to have more interaction with its players?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely is the answer. There's been plenty of red tags, I think, lately, as mentioned, on the forums. We definitely want to participate more in the communication. As an example, we brought back a beloved member of our team from Guild Wars 1 days to run our forums, Gail Gray.
That's right.
Some of you may remember Gail Gray from Guild Wars 1. She's now back and she's in force. She'll be talking to all of our fans as much as she possibly can at all hours of the night. That's just who she is. The CDIs are a great example of that, of trying to work with the community and trying to understand what most important with them. I think you'll see some other things come up more in the future where we run other initiatives to get interaction and interest and questions and feedback from the community. So the answer is absolutely. We want to talk to and talk with our community.
And this is something we can expect to continue on as time progresses.
For sure.
With this recent increase, obviously, it can be difficult to continue to keep that level of communication up, but it's something we expect to see continue at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've grown our communications team. We're starting to think about communication beyond just being on forums, but also what we're doing socially. So whether we're on Facebook or YouTube or Twitter or whatever it might be, we're taking that even broader. So yeah,
that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for answering that, Steve. I have a disembodied voice in my ear telling me that we've got to let you all go. Yep. Unfortunately, I can't keep here any further, so what we'll do is we shall let you go. I shall bring back Pseudo and Mizpah, and we shall chat for a little longer, and we'll chew the fat over what you've told us today. So thank you very much for coming and talking to us today.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Thank you. If you'll engineer Profus. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoy the B-roll there, and while Pseudo tries not to break the set, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to ask both Pseudo and Mizpah, who I've just managed to mix up. It's absolutely fine.
Last time I
I'll be
checked,
Mizpah today.
I wasn't Pseudo.
Really?
Wow. No,
Well, it's
he
a good
can't
thing.
be.
It's
I'm
a-
the swag person.
It's a good thing that he checked.
I'm the swag one.
So,
You might be the swag person, but this T-shirt in my hand is going in that direction towards
That
that
direction.
crowd.
throw it now then.
Does anyone want it?
I see a lot of hands.
Lots of people watching Convergence.
There you go.
That was a rubbish throw.
There'll be more throws in a few moments.
So you're going to get some practice in.
Clearly.
So, what did you guys think about the interview? What did you highlight from that?
It's great to see the guys come on and talk to the community.
Yeah.
It's really good to see the flow of information. The stuff they're doing going forward, saying more and more communication, that can only be a good thing. And the more people get their questions answered, the more the game's going to evolve, because it is an evolving game.
Yeah, indeed. It's interesting that we've seen new people come into the community team recently. So,
Yeah.
like Steve said, we've got Gail Gray, who's a huge fan favourite in terms of community. She used to be back in Guild Wars 1. I don't know if you played Guild Wars 1, but she used to be kind of almost like the liaison between the developers and the players. She would get questions from players. She would go away. She'd say, "All right, I'm going to come back," and players almost felt like Gail was their champion. So much so that she was memorialised in game when she moved on to the customer support team. They had a Gail Gray leaving party/day. So the fans love her, and hopefully that's going to help with their interaction and their willingness to interact with the team, rather than feeling that developers may or may not justifiably be sitting on their ivory tower away from the players and not really listening. I know other studios use the term the devs are listening, but let's hope that indeed that this proves that the developers at ArenaNet are. What about yourself, Sarah? Is there anything you want to highlight from our little chat?
Well, see, there's a couple things that stick out to me. I was kind of sad to not hear about crab tossing, which is a fun little game within Guild Wars if you like to do any form of PvP. But I think for me, considering the fact that I have such a huge love for community, I like watching people talk in chat. I like being able to see how the devs interact with community. The fact that the CDI is coming back and the fact that they're doing all these community interactions, that's what stands out to me the most. You know, you can easily listen to everything that someone from the community has to say or suggest about the living story, PvP, or class balances and completely blow them off. And these guys aren't. And that's what's really standing out to me.
See, and we've seen the devs coming on show floors with Eurogamer Expo,
Yes.
with Gamescom, and come and speak to people. What I would say is that, do you think there's going to be any sort of issues with the amount of interaction that they're doing right now, with the amount of information coming in, actually being able to filter that into useful feedback? Because obviously there comes a balance at some point where when you get too much information, you get information overload, and being able to make balanced decisions based on that can be problematic.
I think that's why they actually break the CDI up the way they do. They don't just simply say, give us all of this stuff. They say, let's focus on this one very specific topic about this very specific type of gameplay, because then it gives a chance for all that to come in. Now, this is not to say they're not listening to feedback on other things, but it just says, hey, our focus is here right now.
Yeah.
This is where you bring the feedback to us, and we can then start disseminating it and mixing it up and trying to figure out the best way to make it work. So for me, the only way you can really do that is by structuring how they get their feedback. And the CDI, I think, is brilliant. So to me, that's the only way you can do it.
It's worth pointing out, MMOs are always big, complex games. You
Insanely
get
so.
Many people playing the games in different ways. Everyone's got a different idea of what they actually want to do with the game. So any choice they make, someone's going to love it, someone's going to hate it. Mm-hmm. It's always so easy to be wrong when you make a choice in the eyes of somebody. But bringing in all the feedback, taking it into account, making good, balanced changes, as long as they can keep doing that, things will keep moving.
As long as they can keep that going on. Was there anything else that either two of you looked at and you thought, that's interesting, that answer is something I didn't expect?
Well, I'm kind of spoiled for choice here because of the fact that we got a chance to speak with them yesterday, and that interview will be up next week. So I kind of got a lot of my answers already, but for me, I think what coming back into Guild Wars 2, because I have put it down for a while, but coming back into it, the changes I'm seeing, the things that they're implementing, the way that they want to actually engage the new player or the person who's returning and kind of go, you're not losing out on stuff, you're not missing things. And the way, like, for example, the change they've made to the commander system. I love the fact that there's multiple colors now. I'm no longer going to get confused in World v World. Okay, that's a lie. I am going to get confused in World v World. I kind of suck at PvP, but that's okay, you know?
Just follow the blue.
I follow the blue Dorito.
No, you can't follow the blue Dorito. There's
yellow, green.
Is it making the Is it making the decision of which Dorito to follow? Is that where the first hurdle is?
That's the first hurdle for me, is figuring out which color Dorito I want to follow in World v World.
You learn something new every day. Following the correct colored Dorito is now clearly how to win at PvP. So I shall take that nugget of information away with me.
Are you going to write that down? Would you like notepads? We've got notepads.
Yeah, I'll use your tablet.
Oh, you use it? All right, okay.
So which colour Dorito do you follow?
Me? I'm old school. I'm a blue Dorito.
I was about to say he's probably.
You usually are the Dorito.
In fact, yes. I normally am the Dorito. I'm normally the Dorito at the top of the pack, stomping for Piken. We're going to go with that. Josie, as you've moved back into Guild Wars 2, there's been a number of changes to the game as we discussed with the developers, and you're a good blank slate, so to speak, to ask. There was a lot of controversy with the new player experience from veteran players, who I consider not to really be the audience for the new player experience changes. You are a relatively blank slate for that. How did you find moving back into the game with changes that I'm going to guess you probably didn't have a frame of reference?
Well, see, this is interesting. I got into a conversation with someone here about this. When I started up, when the game first came out, I was one of the first to buy the box. I was one of the first to hit the ground running. I was the one sitting there going, Char. No, I'll play a Char later. But I came back in with an open set of eyes because I've played so many MMOs now. I'm like, I need to look at this from the perspective of someone who really doesn't understand the game. I have found the changes to actually be welcoming. I don't feel overloaded like I did. I mean, they've streamlined the UI down. They've produced content in quest direction, which actually makes things an awful lot easier. And someone else is like, well, I've been playing for a while. This kind of sucks. And I'm like, well, it's not really for you. You already know. But the suggestion they tossed out, which I really kind of agree with, is maybe have some kind of tick box. I've done this a million times. Don't make me do it again, please. You know, maybe that's the way to go.
And that's another nugget of information that you can go ahead and note down, Martin, for when you go back into Guild Wars 2.
We will. We've got that coming up, and we've got to work out how to work our way through all of the world story with them. A sensible time sink, and that's a nice thing about it. You can absorb this stuff in bite-sized pieces, so it's a way of picking up that part of the game, depending on your time and your availability.
And when Pseudo went back into Guild Wars, she ran a Char. Are you going to run a Char?
No, it's definitely going to be a Norn. It's definitely going to be a Ranger.
Why?
Because Norns have meat.
But Char, when they curl up, they snore and they're cute and their tails swish.
So you're suggesting that I should go back into game with a desire to snore and have a tail that goes swish?
That's pretty much what he does day to day.
It would fit your personality.
Yeah. Personality, you mean his real life?
I must say, Ryakachi's wanting me to smack you. I don't think I'm going to do that, though.
On stream, when it's recorded?
Well, as he says, it's
a
chance of a lifetime for me to reach over and smack you.
Don't do that.
I wouldn't do that
Just
to
don't
you.
do that. It's taking PvP to a whole new level.
Hello Ryakachi as well as Aussie. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, hi regular viewers.
Hello everybody.
I'm just going to cover that as regular viewers. Regular viewer X.
I want to turn the tables on you. You're sitting here throwing all these questions out screen.
That's because that's
I'm
what
going to bounce one back to you.
42.
That answers many things, but I'm not sure it answers this.
Not the one we're after.
In terms of the information you've had sitting here, what is it that most excites you?
That most excites me? Are we talking about Guild Wars 2 here?
We are
That's
talking about Guild Wars 2.
an open question.
And we're not going to go back and talk about sort of viewing the scenery or not viewing the scenery as you did earlier.
The scenery's lovely,
but it's
though.
okay. I will educate you on why
I'll show you my
wish to watch
screenshots.
things
I
that
have
aren't the scenery.
I have gigabytes of screenshots. We'll set some time aside one Monday and we'll just take you through the screenshots. I have some lovely ones from Eternal Battleground.
I'll leave you to your screenshots.
Really?
Yep.
That's why they call me Screenager. Right.
Okay,
that was so
bad.
Yeah, it was really bad.
That was worse than like one of his puns. And his puns make me sick.
I haven't even cracked any of my puns yet.
I know.
Please don't.
Thank goodness.
I better think of some quick.
No,
As
no,
long as-
no.
As
not
long as he
happening.
doesn't sing on stream, we're fine. You're not allowed to do that in public. But
No.
if you want to know what I'm most excited about, to be honest, I'm most excited to see the changes in player behaviour when we get a World v World update. When we saw the World v World fall tournament, when we see the Siege disablers come in, there's been a massive change in player behaviour. And as I said, we had an interview with Devin Carver at Gamescom, and he spoke about having small iterative changes and watching player behaviour change over time within these essentially large-scale PvP environments. And it's interesting to see the way that players change their behaviour, especially with the ability to change commander tags. And what I'm interested in seeing is when we get more iterative change to the commander tag, which I hope we do, if players will become more organised with what they've got, or whether they will just continue to go and zerg down the door. It'll be interesting to see, and that's what I'm quite excited about seeing, to be honest, because World v World is the game type that I tend to prefer to play.
Well, quick question for you on that then. I mean, the commander tag has brought about a massive change. I mean, it's 300 gold. You have a choice of 4 different colors.
Yep.
And that allows you to just flag yourself up so people can find you on the map and get organized. What do you want to see them add to that?
From a personal point of view, the long-term goal from a lot of World v World players is to have something that reflects more of a raid interface. To be able to see who you've got in your squad that's following your tag, how many supplies they've got, what their health is, be able to manage players within that group, what you would normally see from something that you would consider to be a raid interface, because World v World is about large-scale management of players, being able to know where they are, and raid interface from the point of view of a lot of World v World commanders would allow you to have things like smaller Havoc squad teams moving about the world, knowing where they are and whether they're taking damage, sitting somewhere, not relying on them to type something into a map chat before they're all dead whilst they're trying to kill someone, spamming one while they're trying to type, I'm being attacked, this door's under attack, help. You can see their HP just drop while they're in a keep. You can go, there's something going on there. But there are utilities to help with that at the moment, like orange swords, white swords that exist within the map, but further improvements on that commander tag would give increased ability for existing commanders that know how to use it to be able to manage players over larger scales. It's just seeing whether that is good for the game at the end of the day is something that I feel the team at ArenaNet are looking to move forward in smaller steps so that they don't ruin a game type that a lot of players love.
Well, there's also the fact that they use the commander tag outside of World v World. And I think that's where, for me as the player, I mean, I'm not going to be the one who spends all my time in World v World. I suck at PvP. That's not going to work for me. So I'm going to look for the uses for it outside of World v World, outside of that example. And to me, that's where I'd like to see the real changes involved. Like, for example, having the ability to see who's separated, where people are, organize people that way, etc.
Well, while you were away, there were a number of updates in Living Story Season 1 where we had things like the Twisted Marionette and the Jungle Worm that Les likes and Steve likes. The Jungle Worm itself would benefit hugely from things like, it does benefit hugely from things like commander tags, and I've not experienced it since the change, but I would bet good money if you go in to something like the Evolved Jungle Worm now, you'll see multiple commander tags with different colours doing different tasks. It most likely has the same impact on Dequaro as well, because Dequaro requires different people at different areas doing different things at specific times now. This is a much more complex boss than it used to be of just hitting one and doing that. You can't just hit one anymore since that update, and different commander tags can allow people to be in different teams. So it has an impact on both World v World and PvE. Not so much in PvP. Doesn't really help within the Heart of the Mist to have a commander tag on. Just go, I'm here, hello. But what we're going to do is, since we were going to chat about that, we are starting to run close to our time. So what we're going to do is, normally in the show, we'd have some news. We've obviously gone through some of the questions. We've got some news topics that we put together, and we'll go over those for you. So at the moment, the Tournament of Glory EU qualifiers have just completed, and the Tournament of Glory PvP competition is currently ongoing for both NA and EU. So further groups have still got to be played through. You may have seen recently within the news that ArenaNet dropped within Eurogamer that the top 8 qualifying teams within the Tournament of Glory, which is an open PvP event, they will get moved on to what is the World Tournament Series. The World Tournament Series within Guild Wars is going to be a cash prize PvP tournament that involves both any EU and Chinese teams. There's something similar with the Invitational out in Gamescom recently, but now we're going to see a cash prize. It was introduced recently that it was, I believe, a $50,000
$50,000
cash prize. That's a major step up with PvP and Guild Wars 2 to be given real cash prizes.
Absolutely. I'm personally looking forward to seeing, because you have the different regions, and I'm looking forward to see what happens when you start to now throw China into the mix. Just how crazy is this going to get? What skill levels are we really going to see? Because when you have the sectioning between NA and EU, it's difficult to actually judge unless you actually get a chance to see the streamers or the people doing their YouTube videos. So I'm really looking forward to seeing just what occurs with this.
And one thing we've seen in esports in other games is the amount of bragging rights and the amount of support you get for sort of my territory. It's for EU, it's for NA, it's for China.
Right.
People start getting behind things, so that fan base may well pick up on it as well, and have something to shout for and wave a flag.
And we've seen other games recently put news out about their own tournaments with cash prizes, and back that are bigger. But do you believe, from being a player that's played other games, like WoW and Rift, I believe, do you think that $50,000 is enough of a draw straight off the bat when this is their first cash prize tournament?
I think it is enough to get people up and running. People shouldn't be needed to be paid to play a game. If you're only playing the game because someone's throwing a check at you, then no. It's about the prestige, it's about competing, it's about the bragging rights, and it's about getting out there and going, hey, it's us, it's our team, this is what we can do, this is why we're doing it. And the money's a nice reward. It pays to go to tournaments, it pays for time to train, it lets you really work towards being a professional at what you do, because the guys at that level, they're getting pretty professional in esports across the board.
This is true. There's a bleeding edge there, and for me it's you already have these sort of competitions and tournaments going on. This is just, I guess, icing on the cake from NCSoft, from ArenaNet, just kind of going, here you go. That's at least the way it feels to me, because there's this really rich PvP culture in Guild Wars 2. And I like seeing it celebrated. So, hey, bring on the money, but again, I have to, oddly enough, I'm agreeing with you. This is really,
this can't
really
happen.
weird. This should not be happening. I do not ever agree with Mizpah.
I take it this is a Eurogamer once-off for when we get let out in public.
I actually quite like it when they agree with me. It doesn't happen often enough because they like being wrong, but they're learning.
We're waiting for you to catch up with us. That's what's really going on here. But yeah, I think in this case it's about the prestige, it's about the flag waving, but it's really about showing off the skill sets. I mean, people have been playing World of World for a very long time. People have been playing PvP and Arena for such a long time. It's going to be so exciting just to see that. And I like the fact that we get to watch. I think that's what's really standing out for me most.
I think another piece of news that we probably need to hit, because as I say, we're running out of time, but we'll hit a couple pieces of news before we head off here. We spoke about it earlier with the ArenaNet employees that were perusing our couch. Gail Gray has returned to the community team, and we spoke about that when you came on. That was a highlight. And we spoke about how there's going to be increased interaction with fans and how we think that's going to move forward. There's been a lot of shifting right now in the community team. And there's been some rumours of changes in the structure of the Guild Wars 2 community team as well, and different people moving around. Is there's something that we think the team are going to keep up right now, the CDIs, the community interaction? Do you, from your point of view, do you think that's going to continue on as normal? Do you think it's going to get better, or do you think it's going to get worse?
I think they have to carry on doing it.
Yeah.
The typical thing is how will the community react to it? If someone sees an offer of communication, do they then expect to go, I want 3 of these and 1 of these and I want it in blue? And then expect it. So the community needs to learn that communication is a two-way street as well. You'll feed things in, there's a development cycle, stuff takes time, and if they don't do something you suggest, it might not be because they hate you. It might be because there's other things in the game that are affected by that choice. So it's a kind of a learning journey that both developers and studio and the players go on. And the players need to learn to actually appreciate it and go, hey, this is good, because if all you do is throw rocks at them, it's not going to incentivize them to keep doing it very much.
Well, it's not going to do much for their health anyway. So, one more thing we're going to hit probably at this point in time. We've spoken a lot about the changes that we've made to Guild Wars 2, about the changes that have been in their infrastructure, and the fact that the new player experience has come into the game and how the fans took that. What you've got right now is there's actually a free trial weekend going on. I believe it's right now, this weekend coming, and then if you participate in the trial weekend, you get 50% off Guild Wars 2. Now, not that they need any help, not that the PR team need any help in selling the game, but I love to see new players come into the game, experience the new player experience as a fresh slate, and see if they really do enjoy the game. It's not the same, or if you tried the game, didn't like it where it was at when you played it, when it came out, maybe this is time to pick it up for a free trial weekend now, see if you enjoy the changes that have been made, because they have made sweeping changes to the game as it is.
And we'd love your thoughts on what you think those changes are, those of you who perhaps haven't been in the game for a while. Let us know. But before we run out of time screen, we don't want to upset Swagzilla.
No, we have to talk about something very, very important that's coming up. In fact, for those of you who are familiar or fans of our shows, you know we're massive into charity, and there is something special going on in Guild Wars 2 coming up. However, they're still looking for some help. Would you like to tell people a little bit about Pink Day in LA?
Pink Day in LA, you
Can't
almost
miss Pink Day in LA, I'm sorry.
You almost caught me on the hop there. I completely forgot we were going over that. So, I know.
See, it's all about the charity here.
I'm leaning on your shoulders. It's fine. I actually think I will. On your shoulders, that's fine. I'm gone. That's fine.
It's like a freeze-frame moment going on there.
Yeah. There'll probably be pictures of that now. That's going to be a meme all over.
Can we have suitable captions, please? Send them in. I will personally find a prize for the one that makes me laugh the most.
I thought he was going to say he was going to frame it.
He probably still will.
Anyway, moving on.
It's going to end up at the studio, on the office, and I'm just going to have to put it down every time I show up at the studio for a show.
So, moving on, charity and charity things and things about
Pink
charity.
Day in LA.
Pink Day in LA. For any of you that do play Guild Wars 2 and are interested in helping out a fantastic cause, Pink Day in LA is currently in the planning at the moment. Pink Day in LA, essentially, to most players, is a day in Guild Wars 2 where in-game you dress in pink. You use the new wardrobe changes, you dress up, you dress in pink, you get a pink hat on, you get pink bunny ears on, and you run around Lion's Arch doing pink things in a pink
Are you
LA.
going to be pink in real life during this day?
Do you want me to be pink in real life in this?
Definitely want you to be pink in real life.
Well,
I want the sequins.
You want pink sequins?
I want pink sequins.
No one said anything about sequins.
However, I do have bunny ears. I just forgot to bring them with me.
You mailed them to me.
I got a
wear
picture
them
of
in pink.
Aiden with bunny ears. I think we're sorted. We're good
Fantastic.
for this.
So, if you're interested in helping a fantastic cause for a yearly event in Guild Wars 2, go onto the forums, look for Pink Day in LA in the forum section. Unfortunately, we'd normally give you the link. We can't do that right now because we don't have access.
Find the link. Put it in the chat for us.
Go to the forums, have a peruse. As it stands, Pink Day in LA is a fantastic cause, so please do go have a look, help out. You can win fantastic prizes if you go ahead and you help out a great cause. Cyril, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
Oh God, this is where I get to talk about all the swag stuff, isn't it?
We've got like 3 minutes, 25 seconds for
Sounds
you.
good to me.
And I may randomly throw some stuff in the crowd while that's happening, because we can't leave any swag.
Anything
throw
to get rid of
things
you.
into the crowd. More t-shirts, more whatever we've got. We have so many things.
We could try throwing them into the chat, but I think that would only break something.
I don't think they're mime compatible yet. Sadly, there hasn't been an RFC for it. And that just went really geeky, really fast, and I am really sorry.
Can you think while there's flying sheep happening? Because you've still got 2 minutes, so you need to keep talking.
Because I'm Swagzilla, man. I can do this.
Flying sweep.
Okay.
Flying sweep, sheep.
Just don't hit anything important that might be expensive. There you go. Okay, so what we have going on here is we actually asked everyone to send us questions to talk and ask with the developers when they showed up and joined us here. We have picked a couple of winners. A free llama code will be heading your way.
I think I've got them here. That's my bank. No, that's my Oyster card. Nope.
Did you just say that's your rent?
My rent? No, my rent's substantially more than what I've got left on my Oyster card.
Oh,
I might
dear.
have enough to get home. So we have some. Don't show the code to this game. We have
Don't
some
show the codes.
Nope, don't show the codes. We have some Guild Wars 2 Llama
Mini
minis to
llamas.
give up. To give out. Not to throw at chat. So,
Sadly.
yeah, we have 3 winners who will quickly give out. So thank you very much, everyone that submitted questions for today.
Yes. We also have. Oh no.
We got. You let me
Go
finish.
on.
You know, you just got to cut me
No,
down.
I'm just going to cut you off and go into more swag.
We have got 3 winners. I'm going to announce who they are. You will know who you are because you'll get an email within the next few days with your Llama
Containing a
mini kit
llama.
code.
An email with a llama.
I'm going to actually put
we're
a llama
gonna
in
send
it.
a llama.
Oh.
Llamas are mine
I have to read
compatible.
these out because,
That's a
frankly,
llama,
I'm Scottish and I don't have that much of an education. So, Yarni van Vesberg, Carlos Zath and Emma Tapso, you've all won a llama mini pet, which otherwise you could only win either through the Ready Up streams or through participating in PvP.
Yep, and that's not the only Guild Wars related stuff we are going to be giving away. We're going to have a contest very, very soon that is going to have something rather special. We've got a couple of these lovely red t-shirts. No. Sorry, bad screen.
Mine.
See, you got the slap in, I didn't. I was kind. But yes, we're going to be giving away these absolutely gorgeous shirts.
And these are a special edition. When
These
they're
are
gone,
special
they're gone.
about stuff,
Those who
yes.
know the game know why these are a big deal.
Yes, exactly. And we also have our hands on these very gorgeous books. This is The Art of Guild Wars 2. Hardback. I love these.
Do you think we should get them signed by the devs that are on site?
I think perhaps we might be able
We'll
to get
do
them
that.
signed before we give them away. That shouldn't be a problem. But obviously, I mean, these are definitely things you want to have. Like, for me, I'd put them on a coffee table.
And for him, he'd spill coffee on them.
I don't spill coffee, that's wasteful. I drink coffee, large amounts
No,
of it.
you don't drink it. You pretty much consume it. It's almost like snorting it for you. I'm sure if you could have an IV of coffee
That'd
or
be
an
good.
espresso, you would be good.
At EGX, you definitely need an IV of coffee running around all the time.
You absolutely do. Now, there are a whole bunch of other contests that we've got going on and a whole bunch of other things happening, including another charity event that is going to be occurring known as a Game Jam. So if you head over to MMOBuff.TV, check that out. You'll be able to find out a whole bunch of information about that. Now, also make certain you go look for us all over the place. I mean,
We have a website.
I did. I mentioned the website already. Are you not paying attention?
We need to mention it more.
We need to mention it more.
It has www at the front, that's actually the
And
clue.
it ends in .tv, oddly enough, considering the fact
What's the middle bit?
MMOBuff.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. However, I also want to make certain that before we disappear, I say hello to a couple of people who have been watching us for an awful long time. So, Suliko, hearts to you. You still make the very best roused hours in the world. Just saying. But also a massive hello to Vegas, Mythalore, hey MC Cloud, man, it's been a while since we've seen you, and everyone else who has shown up. And for those of you who are joining us who have never seen us before, my name is Pseudo, and you're listening and watching the Convergence. And I'm surrounded by these two guys.
You're not surrounded yet. We're on one
Not
side
yet.
of you.
I know. I
we'll be working
purposely
on that.
picked the side near the chat. I was like, I'm going to be safe here.
You're penned in, but you're not surrounded.
And
Yeah.
you can catch us all of the time during the week on MMOBuff.TV. Different shows every single night, but it's going to take too long to go through them all now.
Way too long.
Shall we go through the goodbyes?
Goodbye, champions. I don't know, let's pick something.
Goodbye, Tim. This is Pseudo saying toodle pip, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up.
And as always, for the first time ever, from this fabulous white Twitch sofa, this is Mizpah from MMOBuff, signing off.